over a decade, Nigerians have been told that their government is fighting terrorists. Billions of dollars have been spent. Thousands of soldiers have died. Millions have been displaced. Yet the killings never stop. But what if the real reason the war never ends is because those in charge are the ones keeping it alive? This is not speculation. There's evidence, some public, some buried, but all pointing in one direction, that elements within Nigeria's government are funding, protecting, and profiting from terrorism. Let's begin with one viral video that many Nigerians have forgotten. A captured armed terrorist made a confession that should have shaken the country to its core. His words were chilling. "I swear to Almighty God, the government is the one arming us. We Fulani don't know guns. We just sat down and they gave us AK-47s. Those words came from a fighter on the ground, not an opposition politician. That single clip, dismissed by officials as propaganda, aligns with reports from both military insiders and international observers. Former Defense Director Major General John Enenche, retired, and security analysts have publicly said that the Nigerian government knows the sponsors of terror but refuses to prosecute them. A 2021 Punch report quoted retired Navy Commodore Kunle Olawunmi saying, "They know the names of the sponsors." The Department of State Services, DSS, has the list, but the government lacks the courage to act. This confession wasn't new. For years, Nigerian security officials and insiders have quietly said the same thing, that the state is protecting those who fund the violence. In 2022, the United Arab Emirates released a list of 6 Nigerians it found guilty of funding Boko Haram. The list came after a lengthy investigation involving the United States Treasury and international banking systems. These men were convicted in a UAE court, their accounts frozen, and their networks exposed. But back home, nothing happened. The Nigerian government didn't arrest them. It didn't even open a local investigation. The U.S. Treasury Department publicly released the same names under its sanctions list, warning that these individuals were operating with the knowledge of high-level political cover. Still, nothing. That silence was not an oversight. It was a decision. Terrorism is expensive. Guns, vehicles, logistics, ransom payments, they all cost money. And that money doesn't move through the desert. It moves through banks. According to Premium Times and Reuters, Nigerian banks have handled suspicious transactions linked to ransom payments, gold smuggling, and arms importation. The United States even shared intelligence with Nigeria's financial agencies, identifying accounts suspected of terrorism financing. But no prosecutions followed. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, knows the accounts. The Department of State Services, DSS, knows the names. Yet no one acts. Because in Nigeria, terrorism isn't just a crime, it's a business. It doesn't stop there. In 2021, the Cable and Daily Trust reported that the federal government paid 800 million naira to bandits for the release of Kagara students in Niger State. The deal was labeled a peace negotiation, but security sources confirmed it was ransom money. Imagine that. Public funds going straight into the hands of killers. The same killers who months later returned to kidnap more students in Tagina and Kaduna. Meanwhile, the government launched the so-called Rehabilitation Program for repentant terrorists. Some were sent abroad for foreign education under the Senate's Operation Safe Corridor initiative, a program that rebrands murderers as victims and victims as collateral damage. As one angry Nigerian said online, "So a farmer whose family was killed gets no compensation, but a terrorist gets a scholarship. A former Air Force intelligence officer once described it perfectly. This government is fighting terrorism with one hand and feeding it with the other. The deeper you look, the clearer it becomes that this is not negligence, it's partnership. In 2021, Nigeria's Minister of Communication, Isa Ali Pantami, faced global outrage after reports surfaced of his past sympathies for jihadist groups. Old sermons where he praised Al-Qaeda and the Taliban resurfaced, and citizens demanded his resignation. He admitted making mistakes, but remained in office, shielded by the presidency. To the international community, this was a red flag. A man once accused of sympathizing with global terror networks remained part of the same government claiming to fight terrorism. Or Lai Mohammed, the then Minister of Information, who in 2023 publicly admitted that Christians were indeed being targeted in Nigeria, effectively confirming what the government had denied for years. Yet again, no action followed. And then there's Samuel Ortom, former governor of Benue State. In one fiery statement, he accused the federal government of colluding with foreign interests to Islamize and take over Nigeria. He said the truth most leaders fear to say, that the government's silence in the face of these killings is not incompetence. It's complicity. In early 2024, a viral image showed Nigeria's current vice president sitting on the ground, eating with men who had once been declared wanted bandits. The government called it a peace meeting, but for millions of Nigerians, it was an image of betrayal. Because while citizens are told to pray for security, their leaders are busy dining with the same people who burn villages and kill farmers. This is how deep the rot goes, from the battlefield to the cabinet table. When Kaduna-based cleric Sheikh Ahmad Gumi appeared in photos surrounded by armed bandits, many thought it was satire, but it was real. He openly advocated for negotiations, claiming bombing bandits will only worsen killings. Gumi even called the US an enemy of Nigeria for proposing airstrikes against terrorists. Instead of arresting him, the government gave him safe passage. That image, a cleric sitting comfortably among men with AK-47s, captures Nigeria's biggest scandal: the merging of state power, religion, and armed violence. While killers get meetings and rewards, journalists, protesters, and whistleblowers get threats. Protesters labeled as terrorists to the arrests of activists who expose corruption. The government's priorities are clear. The real enemies in their eyes aren't the ones holding guns, but the ones holding truth. What we are seeing in Nigeria today is a cycle: terrorists attack civilians. The government releases statements and allocates new security budgets. Part of those funds are siphoned off through fake defense contracts and corrupt procurement. The rest ends up paying ransoms, buying silence, and arming the next set of killers. Every tragedy becomes an opportunity to make money. Every crisis becomes a contract. That is why the war never ends. It was never meant to. The UAE released its list of terror financiers. The US raised alarms. The EU called for independent investigations. But the only reaction from the Nigerian government was that such reports were damaging Nigeria's image. But let's be honest, what image is left to damage? Soldiers die in ambushes because their rifles jam. Villagers are forced to pay protection money to armed groups, and the same terrorists are invited to peace meetings. It's not the reports damaging Nigeria's image, it's the reality. The war Nigeria needs to fight isn't against insurgents in the forest. It's against the betrayers in the palace. The enemies wearing camouflage are not not the only ones with guns. The ones in suits and agbadas signing security budgets are far more dangerous because they don't just kill with weapons. They kill with silence, policy, and greed. Until those at the top are exposed and held accountable, the bloodshed will continue, no matter how many summits or prayers are held. Nigeria is not a failed state. It is a captured one, captured by people who discovered that fear is profitable. And until Nigerians themselves demand accountability, the killing fields will continue. Because in the end, it's not the terrorists destroying Nigeria. It's the system that created them.